That's the agenda.
Humanity sets the agenda. That's Salam Media, humanitarian journalism at your doorstep. Welcome back, and your hostess again, Mamolefe Sehume, hashtag empower her. As we mentioned before the break, we are having Advocate Nakedi Ribane. I keep on hoying me, in front of the advocate or after, because it's a bit, for us, for me personally, titles are titles, but also there's respect also that goes with the title. So the me, it's part of the respect. So bear with me. So we welcome him back, listeners, and Mayor Advocate Nakedi Ribane, who's going to engage us a bit about some aspect that we, as I said before, we probably never thought it existed in our history, where you have people who are in the beauty industry and we think it's all, as I read in her book, hunky dory. Uh, and it's all about beauty and looking beautiful and all that and nothing else. But actually, she's going to now let us into how that industry contributed to where we are, how we, a system that was meant to oppress others and actually guide, not even guide, but impose meanings of certain terms like beauty to say what it means for all of us instead of each of us choosing what it means. So Menagedi is going to walk us through what happened then, part of the activism, and where we are now. Menagedi Ribane was born in Limpopo and raised in Pretoria, Upitori, Mumps to be specific. And she has broken barriers not only as an activist but an actress. I bet so many. I've actually warned so many people. Please, we're talking to Menagedi Ribane, not Sentaulele. She's also an author, fashionista, and a model, and an advocate for many things. I know as well, the voice of the youth as well. And she uses her creativity to tackle topics and issues which many are too afraid to tackle on. Menagedi, welcome. Good morning, ma.
Good morning, Mamolefe. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. And I also would like to apologize, same as you. I'm also nervous like you that started later than we could have. And these things, they do get sorted out. But as the show goes on, thank you for inviting me to the show. And it's really greatly appreciated.
Thank you for being with us. In spite of it's life, we do come across hurdles, but the main thing is how we actually stand up and we just move on. Mushito tswela pele, right? As you said.
Yes.
So as usually when we tell our story, ne, and I don't think it's just a South African thing, but generally when we talk about history, there are certain things, half the time it's either one-sided or it's owned by a certain narrative or a certain group. And as a result, people who are born after then just ride on that tide. But ours is to actually now tell things holistically and handle things holistically. And part of that, as I said, is the role of the beauty industry in the activism that was there and still continues, in its own right. Maybe before we actually get deeper into that, because that's going to be an interesting one, maybe you can tell us about the hats that you wear. Can we start in the historical sense, as in from when you were a student and you were doing law, and fast forward, you became, a model. Fast forward, you were an activist somewhere in the middle of the journey. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Okay. Yeah, it's sometimes listening to it myself, it's quite yeah. Um. Well, when I started going to university in 1976, I was at University of Zululand, which was Ongoye then, and I was studying law. And as everybody would remember, I'm a 1976 child to one of the boomers. And then in 1976, was the youth, what should we call it? The youth, the revolution and everything that happened in 1976. And university got closed. You know, it's interesting that South Africans, we like calling universities schools, because even then, I think I hear that you're going to be interviewing Mahauta afterwards. You know, people would say, oh, the school got closed. And I remember when the police arrested us while I'm jumping, chasing, cutting to the chase, that we did get arrested afterwards as part of the people who were also demonstrating and doing all sorts of things that were part of the struggles in 1976, got arrested. And when we did, we kept on saying, when the police were interrogating us, that at the school we're doing, they say, you guys keep on saying school, it's a university. Yes. And then I spent a whole year in detention. After that, I started modeling. But actually, in between, even just before I went to the university, what happened is that I had started going to modeling classes. There were a modeling school in Joburg and President Street called Sex Cats, Cats as in KATZ, where I used to go to modeling lessons and stuff like that. So after, when I came out, I went back onto, seeing what is it that I can do in terms of modeling. I became a model, and I must say successful model then, because there wasn't really few models. There were quite a lot of models, in which we did everything. Stills, when I say stills in terms of photography, fashion shows, TV, there wasn't anything we were not doing. We were busy almost every single day. The way we were so busy, Mamolefe, and I'm telling you, we could have been millionaires now, but during the apartheid, I'm telling you, there wasn't a time we were not on our feet. We were either on the ramp, or we were on TV, or we were doing stills for magazines, for what are these mail orders, or fashion shows at your OK bazaars, your sales house. People. I think young people, like some of you now, don't even know that there was a sales house and Jet, sales house for black, Jet, and Edgar's for white people. That's what we were doing. And in between all of that, afterwards, then I became a TV presenter, one of the first presenters. It was in the late 70s, a TV show called Eva, in which I was one of the presenters. Then I presented. After that, then I got into acting. One of the first things I did was Bophelo ke Semphego, which has stood the test of time, because, as you say, people keep on saying Sintaulele. There was a time I used to say to them, you guys, I'll be 60 years old, I'll still be Sintaulele.
That's true.
It's still Sintaulele. But the producer, Anthony, had actually seen me doing something else in which I appeared on a TV thing. I wasn't with no dialogue. But they asked me one thing, and he said, oh, I didn't realize that actually this model is Kimopedi, and cast specifically for Sintaulele, which I got. And we did Bophelo ke Semphego, which was also very well received. And so then that's how I became an actor. But in between all of these things, I kept on really still wanting to be studying, because I was studying through UNISA. And then but it wasn't easy, in the sense that I was so busy that every time I would study, and sometimes study at the 11th hour, and then there would supposed to be exams, and then either it would happen or not happen. Maybe I would be going abroad or something like that. But every time I kept on thinking, I need to do this, I need to finish it. So that's how so it was a progression from one thing to the other. From being a model, when I became an actor, I wasn't trusted actually that I would be a good actress. Well, I like saying actresses are actors. It's like, as you say, it's like doctors. You don't say somebody's a doctress or ambassadress. Do you say that? An actor. And so I and also what is interesting was that when I could afford it then and I'd been an actor, I actually paid for myself. I didn't do acting here. I was in Oxford in the UK, and I also chose to be in Oxford because then I knew quite a number of people in London who were in exile. And it was almost like being at home with some of the people. And I thought I just wanted to be somewhere where I could just be anonymous and just be myself. And then I chose Oxford, studied drama, came back. And as I said, it wasn't easy just getting into acting because the first agent I went to, actually, I was introduced there by Dr. John Kani and Winston Jonah, who has passed on. May his soul rest in peace. And they said, wow, you want to be an actor? And then they took me to their best agency, which was Munin Lee. Munin said to me, you had been a model. I said, yes. And he said, for quite some time. I said, yes. And she said, can you act? I said, well, it's up to you. You have, as an agent, try and help me to do that. And she said to me, in 3 months, if you don't get a job, well, we'll have to cut it quits. I said, yes. In 3 months, I didn't. And but got to another more acting agency, which was Penny Chatteris, also very good agent, and which evolved into a lot of other names, and now it's called Thespians. And that's how I got into acting, and then still went back into studying and then trying to become a lawyer, which I became. Yeah, that was a long story, but that's how it became.
Wow, I mean, even among the things that you've said, there's still so many also to mention. I think of how Tate Zix Mda mentions in the intro talking about you and what the book that you have written. We'll get into that, by the way, listeners. Nakedi wrote a book, and it's called I'll Tell You Now. I don't think she actually mentions it. I don't know whether she will mention it, but in case she forgets to mention it, I will do the honors. So Nakedi Ribane wrote the book called Beauty, a Black Perspective. So you can imagine what went through her mind, through her being, for her to actually present this book. Now, the foreword was written by Ntate Zixmda. And am I correct, Menaged?
That's correct. That's correct, Mamolefe.
Now, one of the things that he mentions is that Menagedi being the advocate of, people's rights and botu, bundu, and just wanting to see things being done right, and doesn't have, can't turn a blind eye towards injustice, right? Um, she doesn't talk a lot. That's why Tatemda says, I'm quoting. He says that Menagedi doesn't talk a lot about her role in the historical sense as an activist and how she actually got to use her positioning as a model, as somebody who was recognized, I mean, against the odds then as a Black woman. She used that to actually be a voice and be a face for a people that were almost defaced. And she doesn't talk a lot about that. Do you want to just get into that, Mama, to say how you got involved, how you actually ended up, you did touch on it, how you ended up being in solitary confinement?
Thank you. Well, I ended up being in solitary confinement as part of my punishment for being detained, as part of the students that were at the University of Zulu at Nungoya then who got arrested. And a whole lot of other students who actually were arrested ended up in solitary confinement. So, well, even during the school holidays, so I used to be part of the group that, I've never really belonged to any political organization. That's number one. But the people that I used to hang around with, most of them were Black Consciousness members and BCM, and they used to go to conferences. And, as I would hang around, go with them. We used to, when we were in Pretoria, where I come from, where Mamolefe comes from, and her dad. who I'm sure people know a lot about. It's not about her now, but all of us together, him and other people, somebody, a person of his caliber called Adv Sehume, of which there's a big street in Pretoria that's named after him. We would all hang around and they would be talking politics and what people should be doing and not doing in terms of actually getting rid of apartheid, so that by the time the police arrest you, they know so much about you. They know your hangers, your friends and colleagues, and what you do and not doing. So then we were in solitary confinement. But when I came out, one of the things is that when I had been, I had started only. I'm just trying to trip along, and cut to the chase because there is very little time. When I came from a drama school and then came back, I started a modeling school and agency. Now, I used to always tell my students and my models, I said, I feel like instead of us doing what we're supposed to be, we feel like activists still, because I had to push them, and so that they could get jobs, because they were among the best, but we were not getting the jobs that we were getting. And then even our head sheet, where it's got all the models, if you see them, you would be surprised. The kind of people that I had that had been there, your Augustine Masilelas, your Silo Makeka Ncubes, your all these people, and almost every single one of them had a name, is a personality that now you think, wow, and why is it that we're not getting the kind of jobs that you're doing? But then also, when I got into acting, we had a union, an equities union called POWE, Performing Arts as Equity. I was an organizer. I became a gender coordinator. I also became a treasurer in POWE. And POWE, we were fighting for the rights of the performing artists, so that there could be equity, there could be fairness, there could be justice within the art. Unfortunately, most of the things that we were fighting for then, we're still fighting for even up to date. Maobane really a memorial service and Maredi, and one of the people talking about just how artists, they were struggling then and are still struggling at the moment. So I think that's why Tatezix was saying that, because every time I would say, to my students, I feel like I'm a preacher, or because we're still fighting for our rights all the time, that we should be getting jobs, and all the people, irrespective of their color, shapes, or what. Because also, even with models, there's a time when within shades of blackness, where other lighter skinned models would get better jobs, those that are very dark, or vice versa. If people are very dark and they're black, it's almost as if they are exotic. It's funny. It's like you're not supposed to be either South African, or if you are not, you are looked at in different ways. But then we never do that with white people. Nobody says whites have got different shades. They do have different shades, but who cares? Us as Africans or as blacks, we have so many different shades, but we're always being pitted against each other, and it still continues, and it's not on. I used to say before that when we got into the new dispensation, black, whites, and blacks within the performing arts industry had been so democratic, so open, that we wouldn't have problems. Little did I lie to myself. I think that's the first thing that you asked when we started, and I didn't get into it. You were saying, how did the beauty industry free itself from a lot of, how they were activists? Because the people who would go with each other then, during all these heinous laws of Immorality Act, Group Area act, that black should not be with whites, whether you go to the same, if you went to theater, people should be separated. If in marriages, if you are black, you're not supposed to marry white. If you're black, you're not supposed to go out with white. The only people who couldn't be care about those were people within the entertainment industry. I mean,
so you just to interject there, Ma, sorry about that. You used what you had as a tool to actually fight through this, because at least you were allowed. That industry didn't care much about what race a person was, but it was more open than others. Maybe before, because that's going to be an even deeper one. Before we get into that one, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, then we touch also on how you used that space, because there was a bit more of leg room for the models than others. How you used that space, and also how talk a bit more about the book, your book, Beauty: A Black Perspective. We're gonna take a break for a minute, and we'll continue where we stopped.
Thank you.
Media. They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, yet many children go to school hungry because of poverty. Penny Appeal South Africa's Breakfast Club aims to get a warm, hearty meal to underprivileged children so they can spend their day prospering in their schoolwork. Help feed a needy learner for only 5 Rand a day, or 150 Rand a month. Or visit our website www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573 to find out how you can donate. Penny Appeal South Africa. Small change, big difference. Conveniently located along the banks of the Crocodile River bordering the Kruger National Park, as a guest at Buckler's Africa Lodge, one can enjoy an amazing sunrise or sunset on our spacious deck area while you catch a glimpse of some wildlife sightings along the Crocodile River. The sounds of the African savannah will greet you whilst you enjoy your morning coffee. Buckler's Africa Lodge by Tingana Collection. Buckler's Africa Lodge is ideally situated only 6 kilometers from the Crocodile Bridge Gate in the Kruger National Park. Catering for all travelers with variety, we have 4 types of the finest rooms: superior rooms, deluxe suites, and 2-bedroomed family units. Each room is equipped with the finest amenities to make your stay unforgettable. Guests can choose between the self-catering option or book their accommodation with breakfast and dinner included. Buckler's Africa Lodge is your ideal location for the ultimate Kruger getaway experience. We specialize in exhilarating and educational game drives in Kruger, tailor-made to suit your family. Inquire about our various accommodation offerings and other activities. Visit www.tingana.co.za for more information. Buckler's Africa Lodge by Tingana Collection. Experience the pulse of Africa with us.
There's no smell that takes me back to the comfort of my childhood than the smell of black seed oil being applied by my nanny. Now I'm using Tib Black Seed in my own home to soothe sniffles and coughs, to help with digestion and immunity, and of course, as part of my beauty routine. After all these years, I've come to appreciate the wisdom in finding comfort and shifa in trusted treatments like Tib Black Seed. You can find Tib Black Seed at all leading pharmacies or find out more at blackseed.co.za.
Spread warmth this winter with Africa Muslims Agency's Winter Warmth campaign. Sayyidina Umar Al-Khattab radiallahu anhu would advise his companions, winter, which is an enemy, has come, so prepare for it with wool, leather socks and socks. Let us help the thousands of South Africans without adequate clothing or shelter to prepare for the harsh winter months by providing them with blankets for 150 Rand and winter warmth packs for 300 Rand. Spread warmth with Africa Muslims Agency. Call AMA on 011-834-8685 or donate online at africamuslimsagency.co.za. Africa Muslims Agency. Empowering, educating, inspiring.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and freezer card calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Albeit Lodge, your true home away from home. Albeit is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities. Conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities, your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Albeit has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albeitlodge.co.za.
When you give water, you're reaching out to drought-affected areas, bringing them to life. Fresh water to drink, to clean, and to grow. That's the power of water. Donate now to Islamic Relief.
At Sentio, our Invest for Good philosophy is based on a genuine desire to use our investment skills for the benefit of broader society by investing responsibly, giving charitably, and developing talent that will transform the investment industry. Visit www.sentio-capital.com for more information about our Sharia investment products and start saving with us today. Sentio Capital. Invest for good. Sentio Capital Management is an authorized financial services provider.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
Welcome back. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. Abusheni. For those who've just joined us, you've missed quite a significant part of this talk. And to remind those who've been with us, we're talking about the contribution of the beauty industry in the activism against socio-political injustices, historically, and other injustices in this present time. And we have Advocate Nakedi Ribane with us. Welcome back, everyone. Just a reminder that on Twitter, if you want to follow us, we are at Salam Media, Instagram at Salam Media _on-air. And if you want to call in the studio, I think we paid Telcom 011-680-0355. And for WhatsApp, whether it's a voice note or any message, it's 061-766-0355. Please feel free. Mama, welcome back. We're going to get straight into the book, right? Again, for those who don't know, Khali, I've got my copy. We can ask Mama at the end how and where you can get your copy if you want to. So I'm going to read a definition. Interesting. I wanted to see, I don't trust my interpretation of certain English words because sometimes they've got some bias or something is missing somewhere. So now and then I refer to whatever, whether it's Google or the dictionary. So it says, I wanted to see how they define beauty. It says beauty is a combination of qualities such as shape, color, or form that pleases, underline, that pleases the aesthetic, right? Senses, especially the sight. I think this is where the saying comes, beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder, something like that. There's always a saying in any language and every language about beauty and that. But we're not here about that. I just thought I should share that definition with you. Now, having read that, Mama, you wrote this book. Surely there was an inspiration behind it. You find that there was an agency in you sharing what you shared in this book, particularly about beauty and its definition historically And now it also is another fight, how beauty is defined, But there are some historical, socio-political aspects, right, that had an impact on understanding and celebrating beauty. Can you just tell us about that and its link to the book?
Wow, that's a very good question. Interesting. And, Mamolefe, for me, beauty is all sorts of things, as you have described it. Beauty is a science, it's art, it's all, depending on what is it as a person that you see as being beautiful. And beauty is unfortunately has been political. It has been politicized as well. Right now, as you say, when there's a lot of things that, but it's supposed to be just something that is just simple and natural. When you see something in front of yourself and you say, this is beautiful and I like it, and they say also that beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. Don't we say that? Because, sometimes you look at a person, you think that person is not beautiful for whatever reason, maybe because of your perception of what beauty is supposed to be. And then another person comes and says, oh, I see this as beautiful. There's an algorithm of how beauty is being described, where in terms of you can put a center or where the nose is placed in front of your face and everything. The scientists actually and explain it much better. But also the Westerners, or Caucasian, have done it in such a way that it suits them. Anything that has to do with the skin, that has to do with the nose, we place so much interest on the nose and lips and
And the hair.
yes, and the hair and the body shapes, and it depends on who. But so all those things become a part of beauty. So it's up to you how you think. What beauty is. Even if you haven't got confidence in yourself as well, you might think that you're not. I keep on saying every time I like talking about Brenda Fassie. When Brenda was alive, there was nothing that beat her. Brenda would say, "Mhle mna." And whatever you thought, she thought that she was one of the most beautiful people, and you couldn't argue with her that she wasn't. And if she told you she's beautiful, she can do things. And of course, you looked at them and you would think, yes, she is. If she told you I dance better than everyone else or I sing better than anyone, everybody believed in Brenda. We all loved Brenda, and ended up loving her music and things, because that was also another activist of note, because you can use your craft, your beauty, to actually do it as into saying, because of who I am, and I'm black and I'm beautiful, and it's a form of protest, which is what happened in earlier days amongst black people that they were doing. I think people are doing it differently now, but just the fact of you standing there and saying, I am beautiful, I am black, and I'm brown. I mean, it started with your James Brown kind of thing, I'm black and I'm beautiful. And you had so many songs, from your Nina Simone,
Nina Simone, yeah.
who, were singing about being young, black and gifted, and being black and then beautiful. And you had to believe that if you didn't, and you haven't got confidence in that, you wouldn't be. So yes, that's how you actually can politicize beauty and the arts, and get into saying, whatever I am, nobody's going to tell me differently. So that's how we're doing things. We were running a black model agency, and I tried to instill in my students as much as I could that they should believe in themselves, that they are actually beautiful, that they are talented. And most of them actually believe that. And that's why they are the personalities that they are. And why should other people do certain things and others not? That's why as I'm telling you, that when models wanted to go out with whoever they wanted to do, they thought, why shouldn't they do that? They lived in their cities and in suburbs long before other people could. Most people were in the townships. You go to town. Remember, if you were in Pretoria, which was west, after 5, they didn't want to see black people. They did, you got arrested. Jifortra, Jirak vet, Jifort vet. What suje? And you don't end this time of the day or night. So people would stay where they wanted to stay because you're not supposed to live in town. You're not supposed to go out with white people. You're not supposed to interact. But at the same time, because we used to do shows, we interacted with whoever. And in the evenings, the only, at white clubs, they allowed us to go. And I didn't like it. I wasn't comfortable because I used to say, we are privileged. If I can't bring my friends from the township to also come and party here, why should I actually want to hang out into clubs where other people are not allowed to? And I always question things. I used to get into trouble, a lot of trouble. I'd go to restaurants and they would say, you go to, if there was a restaurant, there would be a small window for blacks people where you must go and buy through a window. I would say to them, I'm not going to buy here, and then get into trouble. And you are supposed to go, and then white people sit inside restaurants. I couldn't understand. And, why should other people sit in the restaurant and we're going to the window? But as I said, besides having been in detention, I've been in so many travels. It's funny. And
Yeah, I think that's the book, one of the 2 books that Zakes says outstanding. One of them is that about, the other moments and incidents where you actually used your platform, as I said before, because there was more leg room, how you use that to actually contribute or have an impact on how things were then. And the other one that he mentions, which I'm also looking forward to, is the one where he says he's looking forward to the follow-up book that I think it's imposed on you by him, about ethnic indigenous products or something like that, the beauty that has got to do with indigenous products.
Because I used to write about that, as you say, about the many caps that I did, because I've also been fashion and beauty editor for 3 magazines, for Pace Magazine, for Ebony South Africa, and for Tribute Magazine. And in those, I was talking about indigenous projects or natural ones, as in, the kind of things that Black people used to use for themselves. As a result, even sometimes I still do that, where you have a mask and then you can use eggs on your face, or you can put some kind of fruit, whether it's a banana or as a mask, and then afterwards just wash it after about 5 minutes or something like that, and where you steam your face. And also we're talking about how people who actually king milk cows, and best milk that comes that you can use, quite a number of things that are natural and that are indigenous. And Habe, we're talking about litsoku, mud. When people go for initiation, they use litsoku, and litsoku is also a very good mask to help towards the harshness of the sun, weathers, and but then people do it when they go for initiation, and then afterwards they use it as part of makeup. But all we look at is all the other products, that white people are using, or the Western world is imposing upon us to use. But then we forget a whole lot of things. You look at so many Black people who have got beautiful skins, and you ask them, how do they do it? You get amazed. Sometimes they don't spend half the money that some of us who had been in the industry actually do, and they look as beautiful as you can. Lovely skins, and all we need to do is to eat properly. There's nothing that beats things that come from the earth.
True.
Like, from trees, from the earth, from like your fruit, vegetables, nuts. The more things that you have that actually come from the earth and natural things, the better for all of us. It helps in terms of our health, in terms of our beauty. So those are the things that Zakes was saying, I was talking about, and continue that we must keep on encouraging people to use those kind of things and to believe.
So that, folks, is a commitment from May Advocate Nakedi Ribane that another book is coming about that kind of. No pressure, Mama. No pressure.
No pressure.
Before-
Yes, I've written about a few things too, even the hegemony of how every time anything that is white is supposed to be the best, and how us as Black people, we don't actually believe in our own as you mentioned hair, you mentioned this, anything that we try and do is to always trying to look like other people.
someone else, yes.
Yeah.
And I think maybe this is where we can, sorry about that, sorry for interjecting. There's a question actually about that, thinking of terms like Black beauty. I read somewhere where you spoke about cappuccinos among the terms that are used for models. But there's actually this one question that a listener has asked about bleaching of the skin. And the question says, what ignited the bleaching and skin lightening area amongst Black and Indian communities? What actually made people do that?
What made people to do that is because the lighter and the fairer people were, the better they were treated. So if you ask a lot of other people, even to date, suppose we can still mention their names. But if you ask them, the reason was that if the lighter you were, the fairer you were, the more beautiful people thought you were, and the better respect that you're getting. So that's what ignited people. I mean, amongst the Indian community, I'm sure Indian people would say that too. They also have their own class structures, and racism too. The lighter the Indians are, the better they are looked up to and more respected. And with some young people, if they're not too confident, when they go to school or they do anything, they still discover that too. And then they would think, but what makes this girl or this person better respected than I am? Only because that person is lighter and fairer. So, and remember that in South Africa, us as Blacks are in the lowest strata of everything. I mean, you have white people first, you have Indians, you have coloreds, and you have us. There were a lot of people, even some of my friends, who went and changed their names to go and live in the town, in colored townships. Remember that if you're colored, you earned better than. It doesn't matter whether you were in the same profession or not. But if you're colored, you earned better, and you stayed in better townships. When you think of Makeshina Kaufela, yeah, they are better than what we have.
Like Deep Blue, oh wait, not Deep Blue. You're not talking about DK.
Oh
yes.
How do I? Kopila Kobulands and Kana in Soweto, El Dorado Park.
Oh yes, yes.
Now, I mean, they are deteriorating. Western Township, but they were all much better, a little bit better than in the town. But when I was in Alexandra, and I think to myself, we have people, great people who come from here, and so many politicians. How come we still have townships like that? We are in a democracy. You have people come living in Sandton, and just next door, you still have a township that looks like Alexandra. Why should we still have that in the democracy that we are having? Why can't we, I've always been about fairness and equity and justice. I think that's how I also got into the law, because all of us should be treated equally, fairly, and be all on the same platform. But it doesn't happen like that. So that's why people opted to try and be. I mean, if you hear Kanyimbau's reason, she must speak for herself, but I had read, she claims that the reason she wanted to have to make her skin lighter is because also just before, when we put on makeup, before you are on screen or act or anything, that when you have one same tone, it's much better. It's true, but then it can also be dark and be the same tone, even tone, and even tone skin color. We all aspire for that. But why must it be the one that looks like white? I agree with what she says. Then it doesn't take too long to put on makeup and stuff like that. But the only reason it's because when you are lighter, you are treated better. You get better opportunities. That's why everybody wants to be white.
So that's why even historically people used to actually go more for the harmful, I must mention that, harmful
Yes.
bleaching processes just to look
True.
lighter and therefore get more favors or get more part
That's
of the
correct.
slice of the cake, I guess.
Yes, and it still continues. It's said that it still continues. You would think by now people would reject that and say, look, it doesn't matter how dark I am, but it's better I become myself, and then let me see and demand the same respect that other people that something very silly, but I'll tell you, I loved Obama and Michelle. You know why? Also because of the space in which they were at. And here you look at Michelle Obama, who is dark and first lady. I used to look at that with so much pride, so much beauty, and I'm thinking, if it was somebody else, and although Obama is lighter, you'd think he would have gone to a woman who's amper Mrs. like him, but he didn't do that. And for that, also, I just loved it. And they were still the people that they were and had demanded so much and had so much respect being in the White House. Why can't we do that for ourselves? Whereby we demand respect no matter how dark and how we are as Black people. Why
How
must
we are as we are. Yeah.
how we
That's
are as just by being us.
And
Instead of
I think that's why I also, this is where Herman Mashaba's Black Like Me comes in. It has a lot of affirmation in it. I hear that it's got a lot of affirmation in it to say I'm owning my complexion and I'm flexing in it type of thing, but through the hair products.
True, through the hair products. When Herman actually started trying to do skin products, I was one of the people the first who he also had recruited to be part of the distributors. Herman's idea, I actually wrote about it in the book. He had thought that because he started the hair product and it was so successful, and he couldn't see any reason why the skin product wouldn't be as successful as the hair product. But when he started with the skin product, there was a big struggle. At the moment, I don't know where Black Like Me is in terms of the skin, and which was true because, as Black people, we are only just coming in because at that time, a lot of white girls and coloreds and whatever were used to using a lot of makeup and skin products. So in that era, I mean, the beauty industry brings in a lot of money, billions and billions. But where are we as Blacks in terms of manufacturing, in terms of reaping the benefits of that? We are very far. But at least, Herman had been. Right now, I wish maybe, he's, I should speak to maybe his wife and interview her and find out how far they are in terms of the vis-a-vis all the other white products that are there against what they have. But when they started, they really struggled, not for the hair. Well, the hair, they got very successful. But when they got into all the other beauty, cosmetic products that are there, it was not doing as well as the other white products that they're doing. So, which is us again. Do we support each other as Black people when somebody starts something, whether as entrepreneurs or anything? I mean, even in the modeling industry, I'm not in the modeling industry anymore, but we are still struggling. There's so many things that I still wanted to do within the modeling industry that I can still do, but it just depends on how we don't support one another. When I was running a modeling school, I was teaching kids. Well, I'm saying kids, most of the people.
Kids, yeah.
Then kids, they are about only maybe 15 years younger than me or something like that. But I couldn't understand why our agency wasn't doing very well. It ought to have done that. But the agencies and the people within the industry and the sector, most of them are actually white, and they support one another. We don't. People wouldn't bring their kids to me, they would go somewhere else. And then when they don't get jobs, they come to me and say, oh, can you please make sure that my child gets a job because she's got a portfolio. And I would say, where do they train? Oh, no, they trained with Mrs. Mama. So I said, but go to those people and make sure that they actually make sure that your child works. You know, I wasn't supported in them bringing this person to me because I wasn't good enough, maybe because I'm Black. But now when they see that they're struggling, maybe the person is not even good enough to become a model, then that's when they think I should be helping. No, we must assist each other and support one another right from scratch, all the way, all the time.
No, I'm with you there, Ma. I think with all that's been said and all that much to process, let's just go for a break. And when we come back, I would like you to please tell people about where to get the book. I think there's a lot in this book. There is a well of knowledge and a whole lot of things to go through, you know. If you can just share with people where they can get the book, Beauty, a Black Perspective, after the break, Ma.
Thank you.
And when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying, or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
The Turkey-Syria earthquake is among the deadliest earthquakes of the last century. Thousands have lost their lives, and large areas and cities and towns in southern Turkey and northern Syria have turned to rubble, leaving huge numbers of residents with very little or nothing at all. Al-Imdad Foundation's emergency relief team is on the ground providing life-saving aid. The people of Turkey and Syria desperately need your support. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, yet many children go to school hungry because of poverty. Penny Appeal South Africa's Breakfast Club aims to get a warm, hearty meal to underprivileged children so they can spend their day prospering in their schoolwork. Help feed a needy learner for only 5 Rand a day or 150 Rand a month. Or visit our website www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573 to find out how you can donate. Penny Appeal South Africa. Small change, big difference.
What makes Randery Jewelers the optimum place for your memorable gift? Is it our range of exclusive, high-end, luxurious jewellery? Or is it our master craftsmanship of all your bespoke jewellery needs? We believe it's because at Randery Jewelers, we know just how to make your special moments last forever. Whether it's for a wedding, anniversary, or just a simple gift to show your love, trust Randery Jewelers to make it special. www.randeryjewelers.com. Make your moments last forever with Randery Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
Online schooling? Why not? Kurtuba Online Academy is the leading global online Islamic school from grade R to matric, offering South African caps and international syllabus. And it doesn't stop there. We also offer online madrasa for every grade. For more information, visit www.kurtubaonline.co.za. Kurtuba Online Academy, the leading global online Islamic school.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. Salam Media, your humanitarian journalism. You are with me, your host, Mamolefe Sehume, and we've been talking to Adv Nakedi Ribane. As I always say, if you do not know who she is, it's an opportunity for you to learn. Go and find out. This is part of why we're having these conversations, so that we feel and we realize that there's a whole lot more to our history and our being as a collective, as it's called common humanity. There's a bigger picture and a bigger face, collective face, than we know and what is normally sung and that's out there. So Nakedi Ribane is one of those contributors to our history that I believe you should just take some time and find out who she is and her contribution. And before we're going to wrap up in a few minutes, but I would just like her to just tell us the book that she wrote, because that's one of the hats that she wears, Beauty, a Black Perspective. Where can people actually get hold of this book? And remember, people, when you're talking about beauty and we're talking about Black perspective, remember, beauty is beauty. Whether you are white, it's none. Choose your own kind of beauty. Take away the prefixes, put in the prefixes. It's up to you. But this book, I would say, from what I have read, if you have an interest in how the beauty industry contributed to our history and up to where we are now, please get hold of this book. Nakedi, how can we get this book and where?
Because this book was published in 2006, it has just gone through different distributors. So I'm also not too sure, because sometimes, but then exclusive books, because exclusive books, the first partner between themselves, a partnership between exclusive books and the publisher, which is UKZN, the University of KwaZulu-Natal Press. And then it was taken from exclusive books to given to another distributor. It went back to exclusive books. If one asks at exclusive books, that's one. And I think Amazon.com as well. And then also, if one calls the University Press at UKZN and asks them how they can actually get hold of the book, because it has changed hands in terms of distribution, that I get a little bit confused as well myself. Yeah. So,
Okay.
but mainly exclusive books, Amazon.com, and also
UKZN Press, right?
Press, yes.
Okay. We appreciate your time with us and also bringing a perspective that probably a whole lot of us didn't know existed in our journey as a country to being where we are today. And what I know and I've seen is that people who have contributed, towards the change that we see globally and here nationally, they continue doing it. I mean, that's why even in the next slot, we've got the Mamolefe Legacy Foundation, because you have been advocates, even with or without the paper and the title advocate. And at this moment, I just wanted to, just 1 minute that you tell us, what are you involved in? Because we know you're always advocating for something, either professionally or even off, out of the bar.
I get involved in quite a few things. I'm patron of Child Welfare Tswane, which looks after vulnerable children. Child Welfare Tswane has been in existence for now 103 years, and they are still going strong. And I'm proud that, to be associated with such an organization. It's part of the child welfares, but this one is particularly in Tswane because I'm a Tswanean. Like you, I'm proud to be a Tswanean, even though we are Gautengers as well.
Yeah.
And then I'm also involved with the Music Academy of Gauteng, the music school that was founded and started by Dr. Johnny Megwa. All people who like jazz would know that. And yeah, I'm also with a women's organization called National Council of African Women, NCAW. So all those things, they advocate for children's rights, women's rights, and artists, in terms of the Music Academy of Gauteng. So I'm still very much involved in the arts as well. When I'm not at the bar or in court or, getting into other things that one can be doing as a lawyer and a mediator as well. So if people want some mediation, they can get in touch with me. And yeah.
Okay. Just based on that last line, so maybe you can, if you're open to it, you can share either your number or whatever social media handle for anyone who might want to reach out to you, whichever one you're comfortable with.
Yeah. Well, my number is not so private anymore. I used to guard my number terribly jealously, but I think what I would encourage people to do is they shouldn't just call me, because if I see a number that I don't recognize, I don't pick it up. And because I see these days people don't like calling landlines, although I do have a landline. But then, but because I work from home, the landline is now even more private than my number. But my number is 082 789 2163. And people must please text. It's better to text first so that I can understand what people want to talk about, and then I can talk with them. Otherwise, if people just call me and I see a number I don't understand, I won't pick it up. So text, and then we'll take it from there. So I can repeat, it's 082 789 2163. And thank you so much, Mamolefe, and your radio station, Salam Media. I wish you all the success, and I appreciate the time that you gave me and the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Ma. We appreciate your time in your busy schedule, that you allowed us to drink from your well and also get to be schooled, and to fill up the gaps in our history and to get something new, more than the usual. We only hear the usual. So you've added to the part of the history that's half the time withheld from us. We appreciate that, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
With your endeavors.
Love you lots.
Love you too, Mama. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And thank you for always supporting young people and being a voice and a support for them.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Have a good one, Ma.
It's
Bye. And that was Advocate Nakedi Ribane. There's a whole lot. When you talk, I prefer, honestly, any day, guys, give me kids and give me older generation to engage with, because there's a lot that when you walk away from these groups, I'm not saying the in-between doesn't give you much, but I gain more from the young ones and the older generations. When you sit with them, you get to leave with a cup that's almost full. And that was the cup that we were drinking from, Advocate Nakedi Ribane. And before we get joined by our next guest, Tukiso Mbatha, who will be representing Magauta Foundation, Magauta Molefe Legacy Foundation, we are going to take a break if they allow me. Okay, they are nodding, so it means it's a yes, so I can breathe. We'll see you on the flip side.